You wrapped yourself in every shield you could find and then called it an argument. You didn't just say, "I'm pregnant and happy." You stacked the deck: high-risk pregnancy, 2 miscarriages, medical malpractice, black woman, reproductive justice, foster care survivor, gentle parent. You built a wall of tragedy and identity around yourself and then pretended that anyone who still dared to question your choice was committing violence. That's not politics. That's emotional blackmail with a baby shower. You talk about antinatalists like there's some bizarre pathology, eugenics and unprocessed trauma in a trench coat. Cute line, empty brain. You never once addressed the actual claim that you are making a unilateral decision. The cost of that decision is paid in full by someone who does not exist yet and cannot refuse. The world you are throwing them into is full of guaranteed loss and non-trivial odds of serious suffering. You had alternatives that harmed no one. That's the entire thing. That's antinatalism. Not a social club, not a subculture, not some white dreadlocked cult. Just the basic question: what gives you the right to gamble with someone else's entire life for your own emotional, ideological, or aesthetic needs? You never even try to answer it. You just do everything in your power to not hear it. Instead, you pull the most grotesque move in your whole rant. You look at people who resent being born and snarl that they have the right to unbirth themselves. Read that back to yourself. Someone says, "I did not consent to this life. I'm in pain. I resent being drafted into a game I didn't sign up for." Your response is not remorse, not reflection, not even curiosity. It's, "You can kill yourself if you don't like what was done to you." Yeah, you're a typical parent, Susan. You call other people violent while casually telling your dissidents to go die. You accuse antinatalists of being traumatized and then serve up unalive yourself as moral philosophy. That line alone disqualifies you from calling anyone else dangerous. You posture as the mature one who learned to cope. No, what you did is cope hard enough that you can now push the same burden onto someone else and sleep at night. Then there's your capitalism deflection. Someone points out that 8 billion people on a finite planet might be an issue, that we are grinding ecosystems into paste and burying children in smoke and plastic. Your answer? The problem isn't people, it's capitalism. Some of us fight that. Environmental activists do that. So your plan is to spawn more hostages and hope they help storm the prison. That's not justice. That's conscription. You're not having a baby, you're drafting a soldier for a war they didn't enlist in. You cling to this fantasy that it doesn't have to be this way, as if that magically justifies forcing someone to endure it while you work on maybe, possibly changing it. It is this way. It will still be this way when your child is bleeding, terrified, or broken down in a system you admitted is hostile. Hope is not consent. Progress is not consent. You don't get to shove someone into a burning building because your favorite activist group is fundraising for better fire codes. Then you twist race into a shield thick enough to hide behind. You're a black woman. You live in a medical system that has abused and killed black women for centuries. You know that history. So you grab it and weaponize it. The global minority has no right, you say, to come into your comments and suggest you shouldn't be birthing beautiful, healthy, supported black children. You label that suggestion violence. No, here's what it is. Someone saying no child, including a black child, should be forcibly drafted into a world that is statistically more lethal and more hostile to them. It is not racist to say, given the brutality of this system, maybe you shouldn't manufacture another target for it. It is not violence to say, your baby will face racist policing, medical neglect, economic precarity, and all the standard human torments on top of that. Are you sure your feelings justify that? What is gross is using slavery, forced sterilization, and racist medical abuse as an emotional cloak for your personal pregnancy storyline, and then calling anyone who won't clap for it an oppressor. You turned collective trauma into a mood filter for your content and then dared to call other people narcissistic. Then you trot out the breeder's comment like it's proof antinatalists are monsters. Was the word smart in your mentions? No. It's a blunt instrument and predictable as hell that you'd grab it and wave it around like Exhibit A. But again, That one word is not the argument. Nobody needs to call you a breeder to call out the breeding culture you embody. You're offended by being reduced to a function, but you're the one proudly centering your identity around that function and treating the product of it as moral currency. You built a whole narrative around your womb and then shrieked dehumanizing when someone named the pattern. Then there's the part where you pretend you mind your business and don't care what child-free people do. That's adorable, considering you immediately label them traumatized, accuse them of eugenic thinking, and smear their entire philosophical position as a mental health problem in a costume. A child-free commenter talks about mutual respect and about being called sick and selfish for not wanting kids. You throw a tantrum because she didn't keep her testimony in a separate, approved thread. You mock her unprocessed trauma in the same breath you whine about being harassed for just existing while pregnant. You exist while pregnant in a culture that worships pregnancy and punishes people for not wanting kids. You are swimming in validation by default. The tiny bit of pushback you got feels like an outrage because, for once, the propaganda stream didn't flow completely in your favor. Then you say something unintentionally honest. Nobody is responsible for taking care of what comes out of you but you. True. You are responsible. Responsible that they will one day feel pain you cannot fix. Responsible that they might be abused in ways you never see. Responsible that they can be raped, exploited, tortured, or crushed in that same medical system you already know is willing to let black bodies die. Responsible that they will grow old, decay, and die, possibly begging for it to end, all because you wanted a redemptive arc after your losses and a reproductive justice journey to document for your followers. You want the authority without the scrutiny. You want the power to create a new victim of reality and the instant moral exemption of being a high-risk pregnant black woman with a history of loss. You want to make the biggest irreversible decision that exists and then scream violence when someone has the nerve to say, "You didn't have to do this. They didn't ask for this." Your grief doesn't entitle you to another nervous system to heal yourself with. Antinatalism is not harassing you. Antinatalism is what's left when you strip away the mood music, the hashtags, the tragedy armor, the race shield, the influencer framing, and the "my baby loves being my baby" hallmark lines. It's one stubborn, boring, infuriating question you can't make go away with insults. Who gave you the right to gamble with someone else's entire existence because you were hurting and wanted this to mean something? You never answer it. You just get louder, meaner, and more manipulative the closer anyone gets to that pressure point. So no. The problem is not that antinatalists are traumatized freaks invading your happy little corner of the internet. The problem is that you chose to walk your pregnancy into the public square, posture as the face of reproductive justice, tell suffering people to kill themselves, and then discovered that some of us still remember that there is a third party in this drama who can't speak yet. You call that harassment. The rest of us call it refusing to pretend your joy is worth more than someone else's life.